At some point, religion became a way to express cultural norms versus Bible-based teachings. Hi guys, welcome back to Clare's Kingdom, where we talk facts, walk fierce, and remind the world that well-behaved women rarely make history.
You wake up, house up, run around in it, flossing on it. This diamond, my diamond. This rock, my rock. I woke up like this. I woke up like this.
Okay guys, PSA, I am a Christian and Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And you do not have to be to take from this video, but I just want to give that PSA or that disclaimer because I know a lot of people expect you to be anti-Christ or anti-religion when it comes to discussing inequalities in the church or inequalities within the realm of religion. But yeah, let's just get into the video. So the religious programming that keeps women small. So whether you fall under an Abrahamic religion or just any other religion, I'm sure we can observe in different instances how women are typically built to be the underdog, whether indirectly or very much directly. So the number one way this happens is how, especially in the church, girls and women are basically brought up with the ideologies that they need to cater or look for a husband, and learn to cater to him, or how to cater to a man or for a man instead of actually building her own life or pursuing her own trajectory or her own desires and goals and purpose. And this is clearly seen when, even as women age, for example, and people always popping the question, when are you going to get married? You know, time is running out. You expire at this age, or we need to make sure you get married, have kids. And there's nothing wrong with these things. But the problem is when people expect that to be all a woman is good for or all women are made for. This leads into my next point when it comes to the lack of accountability. For example, like I saw a video a while back and you guys may have seen it. And it was about a girl who had to apologize to her whole congregation or her church for being pregnant. So she had to apologize to the people. And my first thought was, did this woman or this girl, did she impregnate herself? Like this idea that women are constantly being surveilled and punished to this extent. And the reason why I use the phrase women being built to be the underdog, because in any circumstance, even if it was not, in that context, it may have not been right for her to be pregnant at that point, but it would have been fair and it would have made sense for both the parties involved in the creating of that child to be involved. If she was going to apologize to the church, which I don't think is even right, especially because if she sinned, it wasn't the church's forgiveness she needed, it was God's. And even then, where was the man? Where was the boy? Probably protected somewhere. And if that was the case, they should have both been apologizing. But then again, the burden falls back to the woman or the girl. And it takes two to tangle. And I always talk about feminism a lot on this channel. And again, it's not about hating men, it's about equality. Because if we're going to punish one party for doing something, we've got to make sure that is the message throughout. And this is why a lot of people have come to the conclusion that religion has been made to control women, because we've seen again and again, not even just in religious institutions, even in society, in the justice system, how a lot of men and boys are given very lenient sentencing, or they may be excused or protected, while the woman is left to carry a lot of the burden. And this is also linked to promiscuity and how it's been normalized, especially amongst boys or men. And even when I was going to certain churches, I remember being told that, men just need to experiment, men need to, test the waters, see what they like, see what they don't like. While as a woman, you're supposed to keep yourself to yourself. Don't, remain untouched, remain pure. And I'm not saying there's any wrong in that messaging. But the problem is when you're teaching one party that they can be free and reckless, while teaching the other that if they even let themselves be looked at in a certain way, that they're a sinner or unclean before God. And again, not a consistent message. And one thing I've also seen in the church is, especially a woman who may be going into the later years of her life, being pressured to just take whatever's available, just in the guise of having a husband. And when I tell you guys, there's so many things you can do as a woman in this world before having to get married, especially in contexts or situations where it's not wanted or where you feel like you're being pressured because of cultural norms. And that's another thing, which may be a separate video, is that how a lot of religion or churches, they don't even really act out of the actual principles of the Bible. People have their personal cultures or beliefs and they kind of sneak that in to the messages or sneak that into the rules or regulations. And that's where we have to be able to learn, especially as powerful women, knowing when to take things and when to leave things at the door. Being able to discern what is actually from God and what is actually being orchestrated via or through patriarchy or cultural beliefs rather than actual religious, spiritual beliefs, spiritual teachings. Another thing I've seen is that through religious programming, women have been taught, again, indirectly or directly, to find their value in a man, and that their worth is based on how amazing or how great their man is, or even just having a man by themselves. Like, I've seen again and again, a man can be unfaithful, have multiple families with multiple people, broke, a deadbeat, all of that, but as long as that man is next to you, it's like seen as some sort of achievement. And again, that's not what we do over here. And I've seen even like when it comes to topics of modesty, women being pushed to cover up or dress up. I'm definitely not promoting dressing, half naked or too provocatively, but there's just this continuous policing of women's hair, makeup. Your lashes can't be this long, your hair can't be this long, your hair can't be that color, or just always critiquing and monitoring women's looks. And when I think about the Bible, when I think about the messaging of Jesus and all that stuff, I really doubt Jesus would have been concerned about a woman's lipstick color or nail color. But I digress. There's more to life. There's literally more to life. Whether you're Christian, whether you're religious or not, like even in the Bible, Jesus said that religion or true religion is feeding the orphans and widows. Meaning at the end of the day, it all ends and it all starts with the love of God. And the Bible says itself that God is just. And this is not like a preachy channel. Like, this is not me preaching any ideology. This is just literally me breaking things down from a psychology, feminist, sociology, just personal perspective, like just allowing you guys to just look at things differently and ask questions and not to just be sucked into practices that have nothing to do with God, okay? So yeah, the Bible says itself that God is just. So I don't understand how these double standards and inequalities have been normalized, especially in the church. And obviously patriarchy, misogyny, they all play a part. But at least from what I've seen, Jesus was not a misogynist and valued women very much, or just as much. And this policing of women's bodies, like, I have stories for days, guys. Of course, I'm not part of these institutions right now, but as I grew up in the church, I had an auntie that was constantly telling me, especially for my curvy girls out there, or women who have like very strong like proportions, whether that's upper body, lower body. I had this auntie always telling me to cover up, like literally my whole life, like tie this around your waist, cover this, or your backside's too big, cover up. Mind you, I was a child. Mind you, I was like 12, 13, 14. Like, I wasn't even thinking about life like that. Like, I was literally a child being told by this married, grown woman to cover up. And it wasn't just me. To the point where even when I would go to school, I'm wearing trousers, I'm wearing these jumpers and blazers, and still I felt like I had to get a scarf or I had to get a piece of cloth to cover my backside or cover myself. And it was really normalized. And it's something that I'm still tackling today, sometimes to an extent. And it took me growing up and even hearing from other people that was actually the result of that woman being threatened, that I was going to steal her, quote unquote, steal her husband. Mind you guys, I was a child. And that is another topic for another day. But a lot of the time, especially in the church, women themselves really do reinforce these patriarchal norms or these women policing policies. Because it wasn't the men telling me to cover up. It wasn't the man saying, oh, do this, do that. It was these grown women and all of the fears that their husband will be looking at the girls. And that literally opens my next point of why women have to accommodate and change and match and do all this stuff in order to accommodate the issues or the lost problems that men in general, men in the church may have. I think that's a issue that needs to be solved within that camp. I don't know how women got drawn into that. Like, not to get too graphic, like I was having this conversation with someone the other day about how, we got to a point in society how because men have this problem, or some men, or a lot of men have that problem, women are now covering up. And I was like, you realize they've actually been finding that a lot of animals, like it gets that deep, guys. And I might have to put this stuff behind the paywall because it gets deep. Like, even animals, hell, children are victim to this kind of thing. So I was like, do we have to start covering up the animals? Do we have to start covering up our pets now? Like, what's going to be the next turn? But anyways, I digress. The issue here is clearly not women being beautiful, women having body shapes, because we're women. Like, of course, in a patriarchal society, like I said, there's a lack of accountability. And it just goes back to my point where half of the time religion isn't even based on what the actual book of the Bible. It's based on people conveying their own personal biases or people use religion to soothe their own insecurities, especially, like I said, to control or justify women. They literally use it to justify their unjustifiable behavior, guys. When I tell you, I think the most scariest people are the people that think they can pick up a Bible and say one verse and think they're absolved of all their cruelty or their weird behavior, especially towards younger people, women. And I guess my purpose of this video is just, stir up that question, like stir up that curiosity, because I don't think there's anything wrong with curiosity. And even the Bible itself says, like, who the Son sets free is free indeed. So obviously that doesn't mean go crazy and become unreasonable and become, harmful to yourself or live a reckless life. But one thing I always say, or what I'd say, is that when it comes to like questions of lifestyle and the way you dress, the way you act, or even who you choose to be, like who you really want to be, we all have free will, which you can use that for good, of course, and you can use that for bad. But just know that one day, I think my advice when it comes to that, just know that one day, especially if you do believe in God or believe in the afterlife, that you will give account, like you will have to explain your actions in this life or the next. And that applies to many things and all things. And you will face the consequences of every action, but never let anyone else hold that card or tell you how big or expressive or even how small you can be. Don't give that power to people, especially not these institutions that half of the time they don't even follow their own practices and preachings. And like I said, I am a Christian myself, and I do believe in living a life that is honorable, not just for others, but for yourself. And I think that's where we have to really come back to the core message, because I think a lot of, especially these days, like Christianity and some religions can become very performative, but it's about your personal orientation. It's about living life to the best of your ability with the power and the help of God, and stop letting other people control how you live it, or using stuff like shame or patriarchy to put you in a box. And one of my favorite quotes that I heard a while back was that God doesn't need me to be small in order to be big. And I feel like especially for women in the church, there's this message that you can't be too ambitious, you can't be too loud, you can't be too beautiful, you can't be too outspoken, especially if you want to land the quote unquote man of God. Like, that is just absolutely false. God did not create you to be small, okay? You are the child of a king, especially if you're religious, if you believe in God. You are the child of a king, which is why we are all queens and princesses, and we are literally royalty. So there is no reason for you to be dimming or dumbing yourself down, okay? And you are more than just meant to be somebody's mate or partner. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, that can always be a part of your life. But God gave each and every one of you, under my voice, a purpose. And it's your job to find it and to deconstruct and to undo all the conditioning that tells you otherwise. And honestly, like I said, like, God didn't make you to be small. Like, you were not born to be merely someone's counterpart or maid or chef or babysitter, which, these are all paid jobs, by the way. That's another thing. I'm going to make this another video. All these things that women, especially under the church, are told to be: the maid, the carer, the babysitter, the seamstress, the therapist, all these roles, like, these are actual paid roles in society. And somehow women have been convinced to do all of that for free under the guise of quote unquote love, quote unquote marriage, which is insane. And that's the thing. A lot of women are willing to do that under the guise of, oh, I have a man. Oh, I'm not single. All these things. Like, a partnership is 50-50. But yeah, that's the kind of worms we're not going to open today, though. Focusing on the main purpose of this video, I think, of course, this is all controversial, and I'm ready for the comments to come blazing. But at the end of the day, the construct of religion is man-made. Hear me out. Relationship with God is what's personal. Literally, in conclusion, religion is something, the whole construct of religion is man-made, which is why you see a lot of people having their own cultural beliefs or personal standards and like projecting it onto mass congregations. And in reality, if you're someone that has or wants a relationship with God, focus on having a personal relationship with God. And He is all loving, and He is, as much as religion tries to sell, especially certain dodgy institutions tries to sell, like, God is not just, He's not just this big angry man waiting to condemn you or, waiting to punish you, but He actually wants you to lean on Him, to talk to Him at any time. Like, do your best to live a life that fulfills both Him and you and nobody else. Like, I've said this before, like, I've been in situations and places, like, I've shared this story before, like, I've been to places where I probably shouldn't have been, but I was praying to God in my heart, like, God, please protect me, please be with me, because that's my relationship with God. I don't leave God at the door. I don't leave Him in the car. I don't leave him. Like, God, having a relationship with God, having that real connection with God is literally friendship. And a lot of the time, religion teaches you that, oh, you need to have this like checklist or this perfect school, or don't bother talking to him, or don't. That is all just myths and all lies. And yeah, I'm not gonna get preachy, but yeah, live a life that is pleasing to you and God. And no one can tell you how that looks like, because someone might be led to not wear a certain thing, someone else might be led to talk a certain way or not talk a certain way. And this is why our convictions are definitely personal. And the issue is that these days people try to project their personal convictions onto a mass scale. And this goes back to my video I made about modesty. Make sure you guys go watch that, where I talked about how a lot of people have these like awakenings of dressing a certain way, and now they basically call everyone else a sinner who doesn't dress that way. When in reality, maybe God called you to dress like that or live like that. That doesn't mean everyone else must follow that. But yeah, I digress. I'm just gonna wrap the video here with the fact that one thing that the church especially seems to fail to mention is that Jesus himself was literally persecuted and criticized for being unconventional and for not following the teachings of the Pharisees at the time. And he did things that were outside of the box, and they called him a sinner, a blasphemous, like all of that stuff. And he still came to fulfill his purpose. And that's just my encouragement to everyone under my voice, woman, man, person, living your purpose, living your truth. And just make sure you live an honorable life, a life that you'll be proud to talk about and to share. And yeah, just spread love, guys. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This one has been in my archives for a while. I know it's a controversial one, but here we are. Yeah, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
I woke up like this, we flawless. Ladies, tell them I woke up like this. I woke up like this, we flawless. Ladies,